welcome to Learn Extra Live Grade 11s. This is Life Science, and this is Llewellyn.
Hello.
Hello, Llewellyn.
All right, and
I
yourself?
thought that they wouldn't recognize you with the
Yeah,
new
well,
hairstyle.
we
so I
gotta
just
change.
thought, you got to change in life. I mean, new things, new beginnings, and
That's
new
it.
changes. That's exactly it. So what are we doing today?
We're doing revision, and I've chosen a subject that the people struggle with, so
Okay.
hopefully we can help you.
Okay, cool. That's always good. You
See
can
that.
go with your board. So as you know, we are here to help you guys. So you can also help yourselves by sending us questions. Our Facebook page is facebook.com/learnextra, and our Twitter handle is @learnextra. This is the platform for you guys to ask anything that you want, make comments on anything, say basically whatever you need to say. Make sure that you use our medium just to let us know how you are feeling about this topic, grade 11s. I'm looking forward to the show, and so is Llewellyn. So if you have some friends that perhaps don't know the time that the show is starting, tell them the train is about to leave because we are starting right now. Over to you, Llewellyn.
Thanks, Kat. Well, it's coming to the end of the term, so hopefully you're a little bit more relaxed, and it's not that bad. But I went and tried to find out what boys are struggling with, well, my boys are struggling with, and they came up with excretion and osmoregulation. Now, this is the kidneys and all of that. So what I'm going to do is we're going to go through it nice and slowly, and hopefully you'll learn a couple of things, because I know I did again when I go through it. It makes it easier. Right. So firstly, let's have a look at it. If we look at the organs of excretion, now it's not just your urinary system, right? We're having a look at, yes, you're absolutely right in the beginning, is the kidneys, right? Oh, it's a bit hard today. Well, if you look at the kidneys, they excrete urinary waste. They do a lot of things, right? They get rid of things like creatine. Today, this board is not working with me. Okay, let me just erase that. Right, they secrete creatine. They do water, mineral salts, all the stuff that we do not want in our body, right? Not all stuff, too much stuff in our bodies is very bad for us, right? So we need to get rid of it somehow, right? Like all these boys that are trying to get big and strong, and you always mention this big word. Let me just see if I'm sure I've put it here somewhere. There it is, creatine. I did it, underline it earlier. Creatine, right? We get rid of it, and now you pump your body full of it. I mean, just think about it. There's a bit of a problem, right? Now, the next one that I don't think you guys might not have seen yet, right? There it is. It's a different type of acid. Now, this acid is actually made from tea, from wine, and from fruit juice, right? We need to get rid of that acid, hippuric acid, right? We need to get rid of that acid. Okay, so the ammonia, the urine, the mineral salts that is too much, we need to get rid of it. We're going to stop it there. Next one, we've got the liver. Now, the liver is our filtering system, right? Now, our liver actually gets rid of substances, for example, alcohol, right? It filters the alcohol out of the blood. Now, alcohol is very bad for us. It's a poison. Our body sees it as a poison. So it goes into our liver, the liver's got to work, get rid of it, and if you know what I'm trying to say, get out of our blood, and we get rid of the alcohol, right? Now remember, the alcohol wants to try to take the place of water. That is why when you've drunk a lot, you always go to the toilet so much, we're getting rid of all that water, which is very bad for us. That's why people wake up with a hangover, because they're actually very dehydrated, right? And if they're dehydrated, they don't feel very good, and that's a big problem. So the liver actually gets rid of alcohol and substances like that. Okay. Next one we're going to have a look at is the lungs, right? Your lungs, we get rid of carbon dioxide and water vapor. Okay. Every time we breathe out, it's not just oxygen or carbon dioxide or all that other parts, right? It's also got water vapor in it. It keeps the moist lungs, and we can absorb the oxygen and get rid of carbon dioxide very easily, right? And then the last one, of course, is the skin, right? We excrete out of the skin, and I'm sure you know what it is. It's called perspiration, or some of my boys always call it sweat. I cannot stand it. It's perspiration, right? They get rid of the perspiration, and inside there's also urea, hey? So that is why it's so salty, and that's why you stink. So you've actually got urine on your skin when you're excreting it. So just remember that. You have to bath. You've got to get rid of it. And us boys, and a lot of the girls, don't get me wrong, girls are very good. A lot of the sports girls and boys, they have to get rid of this because it stinks and it's horrible, right? So make sure that you have a good bath to get rid of all the stuff so we can keep ourselves nice and healthy. Right, now, let's carry on. What I've done is I've started off, I'm bringing along the main important part, right? I consider this the important part because a lot of people don't understand this, right? And what I'm going to use, let's see if I can get it, pink, is that part. Hopefully you can see it, right? It's the kidneys. Now, the kidneys can become so difficult if you don't understand it. Now, my job today is to try and help you to understand it. And it's actually not that difficult. All you have to do is listen carefully and we will get there. Please understand, Kat is ready for any questions. Please send them in and let's see if we can answer them. Okay, so the kidneys, if you have a look at it, the kidneys go all the way, from the kidneys, it goes all the way to the bladder and then out your body. Plain and simple, right? But we want to find out how the kidneys does its job. What does a kidney have that actually makes it filter and get rid of all this waste products and make our blood nice and clean? Right, okay, so here we start. The structure of the kidney, okay? It's a bean shape, okay? It's red in color. So if I have a look at it, you cannot miss it, right? It's a bean shape. It takes the shape of a bean, okay? That bean shape, very easy. Come, it looks like this. If I have a look at it, it looks like that. Jack and the Beanstalk, it looks like a bean. Simple, plain, right? It is red in color, dark red, and it has layers of fat around it. Layers of fat. Now, let me try this one out. Kat, fat good for us or not?
Good.
Why do you say that?
Because it keeps us warm.
Very
and
nice.
It keeps our skin look good and healthy, and it
Here
keeps
we
us
go.
protected and all this.
That's it. There's the other word. Protection, right? And warmth. Keeps us warm. It keeps us protected, right? And there's energy there when it needs some energy. That's very good, Kat. I mean, you've been studying, haven't you?
I have. I remember stuff from my grade 11.
I'm so glad to hear that. So the fat around it is actually very, very good. You've got to have fat around it. All these people that are good sportsmen, they say, I don't have any fat. Rubbish. There's fat around the organs. It's there for a reason. It's good, right? Next thing. It's got this thing called a nephron. Okay? Now, you've heard this word before. Some of you understand it. But a nephron is not that difficult. Oh, the nephron is actually, let me get back to the colors. The nephron is actually what we're going to look at. That's what filters this whole blood system, right, is the nephron. But I'm going to get clever. I'm going to divide it into different sections for you so that you can understand it. And I'm going to try and explain to you exactly what happens in each section. Right. So if I have a look at it, the function of the nephron is divided up into various regions, as I was explaining to you. You first get the Malpighian body. There it is, the Malpighian body. That's the front piece of it, right? From the Malpighian body, we get the proximal convoluted tubule, okay? Then we get the loop of Henle, which is over here. You get the distal convoluted tubule, okay? And then the last one, the collecting ducts. Now, picture this. First piece, we're getting the rubbish, right? Or everything, should I say. Next piece, we're going to take out the stuff we like. The next piece, we're going to grab a little bit more. The last piece, a little bit more. And the end piece, we're going to gather all the rubbish up and send it to the bladder. Okay, so that's what it actually is. So not that difficult. So let's go through it again. It's grab all the rubbish, right? Get out the most important stuff. There we need to get a specific thing we're going to get to. So it's grab some more stuff, collect everything together and send it to the bladder. That's all it is. Kidney is not that difficult. Now, we're talking about the nephron, right? And the nephron, there's lots of them in this kidney. There's thousands. There's absolutely a hell of a lot, right? So what I'm going to do, let me just get a nice picture here of what a nephron looks like. There it is. That's what a nephron looks like. Now, I'm going to divide the sections for you quickly, right? And then I'm going to explain to you where you find them, right? So if I had to have a look at it, right, I've got this part. There's the first part, right? There's the second part, right? There's the third part, right? There's the fourth part, and then, of course, the fifth part. Okay, now, I've missed out one specific point, and I've done that for a reason, right? So, go with me. Malpighian body, proximal convoluted tubule, loop of Henle. Next one is distal convoluted tubule, and then the collecting ducts. Okay, nice and simple. I haven't told you what they do. At the moment, I don't care. I need you to understand where this comes from and what it looks like. They love asking this. They really do, because it's a nice question. It confuses the children quite a bit. So let's just have a look at it. If I try and extend this page, if I can get it right, there we go. Let's draw the kidney, a nice big kidney. I like yellow, so let's get some yellow going here, right? If I draw this kidney, there it is. Right, now, please understand, I might be able to be a biologist, but drawing is not my skill. Right, so here we go. I'm just going to draw what this kidney looks like, roundabout. I'm going to bring it up. There, 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 and then let's bring that there. Okay, cool. So that's what it looks like. Then I'm going to grab a different color. Let's get this piece, and please, there's quite a few of these, but we get there. So it comes out, in, up, and there. I'm just going to draw a couple of them. Out there, up, and there. There's another one. There we go. And then this one. Okay, now, this is what your kidney roundabout looks like. Okay, now, there's different parts of your kidney. These parts have a specific function. Okay, so you get your medulla, right? So I change a color. I'm going to start using quite a few colors. You get your medulla, right? And then you get your cortex. These are the two main parts that we need to know. This piece here, right, is the cortex. Okay, this piece here, right, is the medulla. Okay, the medulla, that piece there. Now, remember I said to you, we're going to have a look at the nephron. Okay, now have a look at this nephron. It's divided into two sections. Can you see it? Okay, there's a top section and a bottom section. Okay, now, if I had to do this, I'm going to take this specific part out. There it is. Can you see it? I've taken that piece out, and I'm going to make it nice and big. Let's get this pink going here again, right? It looks like that. See if I can get this right. It's not happy with me today. Come on. There it is. Okay, and I'm going to tell you that a nephron has two parts. This is part 1. That is part 2. So a nephron actually goes there, right? I'm just going to put a little dot like that, right? A little squiggle, right? It comes all the way down, back up, right? A little squiggle, and then all the way down. Part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4, part 5. Hopefully you got that. Let me do it again. There's part 1, part 2, part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4, part 5. They work together quite nicely. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a break. I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to give you a slight break. You get something to drink, take a deep breath, relax. I hope that you're taking notes down and we can get you right. Because now we start becomes a little more difficult. Just this piece is good, and we'll take it there when we get back. Kat.
Thank you, Llewellyn. So guys, we're going to go for a very quick break, just so you guys can get refreshed, as Llewellyn said, because we do need you right back. So if you are really keen, you don't even need to move off your seats. See you after the break. Welcome back, Mindsetters. If you have just joined us, we are doing life sciences, and today we are doing excretion. And what else are we doing?
Osmoregulation.
Osmoregulation. That's it. We're doing excretion and osmoregulation. I know it's such a big word. That's why Llewellyn says you guys struggle with it, but you guys probably know it better than I do. So Tune in, guys, and make sure that your senses are high, because this is such an awesome show. And some of you have said that you're doing it towards the end of the year. Right now is towards the end of the year. So you can start taking notes right now so that you can be ahead of the rest, as usual. Over to you, Llewellyn.
Thanks, Kat. Now, what I've done is I've gone to have a look at some of the questions that you guys are sending over to me. And there are some questions that you've jumped the gun, so I'm not going to answer them yet, but I'm sure I'll answer them as we're going. But there's one question that I quite liked. So, Kat, can you tell me who it was? Can you remember?
Mafokoane asks, what will happen to our bodies if one kidney dies?
That's why we got two. It's quite nice. You know, we've got two kidneys, right? The one works very easily and the other one works very easily. They don't overload each other. But if I have to donate one of my kidneys, right, I can donate it. I'll be perfectly fine. I'll be healthy. I'll be fine. But I have to stop sport. Okay? Because remember, when you do sport, what is actually happening to your muscles is you're actually breaking them down, and you're going to start filtrating. It's going to take all that bad protein and send it out, right? So it's going to go to the kidney, break down the rubbish that it doesn't want, and it's going to be sent out. So the more fitness I make myself do, the more I break my muscles so that I can build muscles up, but I take all rubbish out, and if I don't have two kidneys, I cannot do it fast enough. I hope that helps you. But you would be fine if you only have one kidney. So if you've only got one kidney, please don't stress. Life's always great. Right. Now, we ended off with this part, right? I just showed you, right, that this piece of the kidney, the dark, you'll actually see it's nice and light, right? If I'm sure I've got another picture somewhere of it, but it's nice and light. That is where you would get the loop of Henle, right, which is that piece, and the collecting ducts, right? This Malpighian body, right, which is somewhere here, I'm not going to say it's a Malpighian body yet, right, but this part of the nephron is found outside in the cortex. I don't want to get you confused with the Malpighian body. Right, now, one of the questions was definitely, what is a Malpighian body? Well, let me tell you, okay? The Malpighian body is actually a group of cells. Now, I know I've written it there, but I want to try and get it to as perfect as possible, right? It's the arteries that are coming in, giving off all the other rubbish, and then going out, right? So if I had to draw this as it is there, right? Now, this looks quite confusing. This looks very confusing, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull it down a bit. Let's see if I can pull it down a slight bit more. I'm going to increase it, okay? So just so that I've got more space. Now, I want you to have a look, okay? I'm first going to draw a thing called the Bowman's capsule, right? The Bowman's capsule, very, very important, okay? Now, the Bowman's capsule is the first part of the nephron. Now, the Bowman's capsule actually does this. There we go. Does that all the way around, back in and out. That's the Bowman's capsule. It gets a cap over the Malpighian body. Right? It's a little cap around the Malpighian body. Now, the reason why it's done this, if I've got this whole piece here, I'm going to use my finger, hopefully it'll work. This piece, no, it won't. This piece here, this whole piece, so hopefully you're watching. That whole piece, oh, let's try a different color pen. Maybe that would do it. Okay, if I had to look at this whole piece here, please, this line is not supposed to be there, but this whole piece here is going to do the absorption, right? Now, this is two cells. Now, if you have a look at this carefully, if I bring it back up, look at it. There it is. Okay? I'm going to put the white line in as well. There it goes. Can you see the cells that are around that? The cells go all the way across, comes all the way up to there, then it turns around and it comes all the way back, right? All the way to there and around. Now, if you have a look at that, right, that is your Bowman's capsule. Now, the Bowman's capsule is hollow in the middle, right? So we can take all the stuff and put it in there so we can send it down these tubes, okay? We need to filtrate it. Now, this big mess of things, these pipes, these things here, that is your Malpighian body, right? Now, the Malpighian body, let me go back up so you can see, the Malpighian body consists of two things, okay? It's called your afferent arteriole and your efferent. So let's get to afferent. I need to change pens because that's white. Okay, you get your afferent arteriole and you get your, where's the efferent? Efferent arteriole, okay? Now, the afferent is a nice, big, solid pipe, right? Your efferent is nice and small, Okay, so if I had to have a look at the difference, it's like that. So we're taking something nice and big, and then we're trying to push it into something small. It is not going to happen. There's too much pressure. So what we need to do is, if we want to get our stuff through there, we need to chuck stuff out, right? So that's what's actually happening here. This thing, this big artery, is actually dividing into arterioles and capillaries, right? It goes into capillaries, lots of capillaries, so that it's got a little bit of space so we can throw out everything, and it comes back to arterioles and then to an artery again, right? So it can leave, okay? Now, in that part, we're actually throwing out everything except for the blood. Okay, we're getting rid of proteins, we're getting rid of minerals, we're getting rid of urea, creatine, all that stuff, salt, water, everything. We're throwing everything away because the body, we don't actually care at this part. The body's saying, I don't care what it is, throw it in there and then we'll sort it out, right? It's if you take this big thing of money, big bowl of money, right? You don't care about the money inside. You're going to throw it onto a conveyor belt, and then they're going to sort it out, right? So that's what we're doing. We're bringing it, throwing it on there, and we'll work it out. We'll sort it out as it's going through this whole nephron, right? So the Malpighian body, as one of the question was, is this big ball of cells in here. Oh, it's the big ball of capillaries and network, that whole network inside there. That's the Malpighian body. And the Malpighian body gets rid of everything. So it comes in through the afferent. Remember, A starts first, all the way in, does all its funny thing, and it comes out through the efferent. A before E, right? That's nice. Hopefully you've got that. So that's what happens to the Malpighian body, right? The Malpighian body pushes it over into the Bowman's capsule, and the Bowman's capsule sends it to the next stage. So remember, the Malpighian body, we're throwing everything into the Bowman's capsule. That's all we're doing, nothing else. You get the afferent arteriole that's pushing everything out before the rest of the blood goes through the efferent arteriole. Hope that's making sense. If it's not, please send it to Kat, let me know. Let me just go over it again if you don't understand it. Right, so if you're getting that, remember the efferent comes in, right? It goes this capillary network all over the place, and then the efferent leaves. Okay, so does that make sense? Now, if it does this, the reason why it goes loop like this, it's very, very, very simple. Increases space. The more space, the more surface area that this thing can touch on this one, the more we can absorb in a quicker amount of time. I don't know if that makes sense. If I did that, if I had to measure from here round to there, there's not much space. Just have a look, not much space. But the minute I start going in between my fingers, look how much more space I've got. There's a lot more time, a lot more space. So that's exactly what's happening there. It's increasing the surface area. Okay, same as there. If I did that, right, it's not going to go very far. If I made it into a circle, it'll go in, up, round, and down. It absorbs more. That's why they put it like this. Okay, very, very clever, very easy. Right, you guys can do this. Just keep going. Right, next one. Remember we had that first piece, the Bowman's capsule and the Malpighian body. They are found in the cortex of the outside that triangle thing in the kidney. Can you remember? Outside the medulla, but that's in the cortex region. Right? So now, the next thing we're going to look at is the proximal convoluted tubules. Right? They are also found in the cortex. Right? And the nice thing about it is there's nothing really special about them. Right? These guys are like suction machines. Right? Well, I can't say suctions, they give off, right? This is where the blood goes next to them, right? So these the arteries in that stay right next to this convoluted tubule, and this is where they throw back into the blood, they chuck it back in, they throw good things, right? So everything that we still do need, they throw it back in. So if we have a look at it, our amino acids that we can use, our glucose, right? All of that stuff that we really need, it gets chucked out of the convoluted tubule and back into the blood system. Not difficult, that's all they do. Not very difficult at all. Right, so that is what they look like. You'll see I've just made a slight drawing. You have the Bowman's capsule and then the convoluted tubules. And it goes all convoluted like this, it goes all funny because what? The more space or the longer the tubes are, the more it can get rid of all the good stuff. Okay, so if you have a look at it, if you take a lot of vitamins, right, and you drink your vitamin tablets in the morning, but you take 10 of them, all different types, have you noticed that your urine is very yellow? Now, the reason for that is we've taken out as much as we need. The rest must just go out. There was not enough time to absorb all of it in the kidney. Okay, so we've absorbed all, right? And the stuff we don't need, we just get rid of. Okay, so too much of those minerals, we just get rid of it, so don't worry about it. Okay, so the convoluted tubule, the proximal convoluted tubule, should I say, okay, that is there for reabsorption of all the good material that we need. Right, okay, so the next one, the loop of Henle. Now, this is the part where my boys start struggling. Okay, the loop of Henle. Now, all this thing is, right, all this thing is, it's not very difficult, trust me. Okay, it's where you guys need to start concentrating. But what I've done is I've decided to put in some figures in so it can confuse you. Hey, how bad is that? Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to extend this a bit more so we can get rid of the way you guys are looking at it. And I want you to understand this. Right, so we've just come from the Bowman's capsule. There it is. Right, comes into the convoluted tubules. Right, and now we're going through the loop of Henle. There it goes, and back up. That's all it is. It's just the loop. Can you see? Remember, there's a line. That's the cortex, is up here, and that's the medulla. Right, you're all with me so far. Not very difficult. Now, this piece, this loop of Henle, okay, the loop of Henle is there to absorb water. That's its job. Remember, water is very important to us. If it's on a hot day, you know how thirsty you get in that? We need a lot of water. So what happens is we need to grab the water back in to these, into the arteries in that. Okay, so what happens is we throw the water from the loop of Henle, we chuck it into the surrounding tissue, into the medulla, right? And then it gets absorbed back into the blood. That's all it is. The loop of Henle, this whole thing has just got to do with water. Okay, so it's not that difficult. The first part, yeah, it's very simple. We're going from a low water potential to a high water potential. Now, that could confuse you. Let me put it in a way that you might understand. Osmosis goes from a high concentration to a low concentration. So I'm going to write it down so that you get it. So it's a high concentration to a low concentration. So there's a lot of water, and it's going to move to a little bit of water. Okay. Now, when I talk about the water, as I said to you just now, the water potential means I can accept or I can get. So it works the opposite way. Now, they will confuse you with these words. I know, I do it all the time with my boys because it makes them think. Right? If I want to use high concentration means lots of it. Low concentration means very little of it. When I talk about a high water potential, it means I can take a lot of water. So this would be high water potential. This will be a low water potential. It means it cannot accept water. It means it can accept water. It means there's a lot of water. It means there's a little bit of water. Did that make sense to you? Okay, so if I say to you, it moves from a high concentration to a low concentration, or it moves from a high water potential to a low water potential into the surrounding tissues where it can be absorbed in this whole area here. Okay, what I'm going to do, I'm going to give you a break because I know I can see the smoke coming out of your ears because it's not that difficult. And I promise you, we're going to get this right. So 2 minutes, not even minute. Let's get back and let's work hard. Okay.
Let's make it like 20 seconds.
20 seconds I'm happy with.
We're going to give you guys a really short break, maybe not 20 seconds, maybe slightly longer than 20 seconds, just so that you can get refreshed because it does get more exciting as you guys can see. See you right after this. Welcome back, guys. As usual, your questions are spot on and they are so amazing because it shows how focused you actually are. Some of the questions I've answered on the page, so keep posted, guys. Keep up with what we're saying. Some discussions are taking place. Some people are helping each other. So make sure that you are actually so on the page. You keep refreshing so that you can get some new stuff. And if I haven't answered your question, Llewellyn might be going through it just now as we speak. So keep your focus alert still. Over to you, Llewellyn.
Thanks, Kat. Now, we ended off with this. Now, remember what I said to you. The whole loop of Henny is just to absorb water. Now, what happens if we get to a place where the water has ended up and it's staying in this area? Isn't it going to be too much water? And if there's too much water, what's going to happen? We're not going to be able to get rid of more water if we need more water. So what actually happens is we start getting a thing called a sodium pump. Now, that's the part you guys are all worried about, is a sodium pump. Now, I'm going to pull down, and you need to listen very carefully. Okay, so let me bring it all the way down again, and there we go. Let's have a look at it. The loop of Henle is surrounded by tissues. Water potential, remember I explained it to you. Water potential is now lowered, okay, so we need to suck that water out. So what I'm going to do is, this area here, this white area here, we want to send the water that's coming down here back into this part here. Now, once this piece is filled with water, right, and we go down, and we want to get here, we want to absorb more and more water, okay? So what do we actually do? We need to actually put salt, okay, or sodium chloride, NaCl, right, there we go, CaCl. I'm going mad today. NaCl in this area. If we put more salt in there, it means we can add more water in there. The problem is, to move salt from there to there, to there is a bit of a problem. We actually need to do it physically. Okay? Now, you get the, I'm trying to think of that word. It'll come back to me just now, right? You get the passive, there we go. You get the passive and you get the active transport, right? Passive means what's happening here. The water's going from a low water potential. Well, let me do this. From here, goes from a high water potential to a low water potential, right? Over here, remember, there's a lot of salt in this area. So what we have to do is we're going to take the sodium from let's say from a high, it can't be a high concentration, but there's a certain amount of concentration of, it's a low concentration to a high concentration. So to be able, just think about it. If I want to push a car, if I'm on the top of a hill and I push a car downhill, how much energy do I use? Not much, right? It's a little push and off it goes, right? But if I have to push it uphill, I have to use a lot of energy. Now that's what's actually happening here. You're using energy to take the salt from inside here to inside this part so that we can grab more water. Okay, now it doesn't just happen. It doesn't just happen. There's specific hormones that do this. Now those hormones, we're going to have a look at two. First thing we're going to have to do is we're going to have to get rid of the water that's here. We need to make it suck up as quick as possible. And once it's sucked up, right, then we can put more water in, right? Okay? And if we can't get rid of this water quick enough, right, then we need to add more salt to the water. And if we add more salt to the water, that means we need to get more water across. Okay, that's roundabout how it works. That's a nice, easy way to expand. I can't expand it any easier than that. But the two hormones we're going to look at is ADH, antidiuretic hormone, and the second one, right, is you get from your adrenal gland. It's aldosterone, right? Aldosterone. Now, aldosterone tells the sodium chloride to come from here into here, right? And what's the other one? I'm trying to think now. ADH, antidiuretic hormone, tells these pipes here to actually take in the water quicker. Right, so if it takes in the water quicker, we can put more water. If we don't take it in quick enough, we add aldosterone, and the aldosterone tells the salt, hey, but come out, move, let's put some more water in this area. Okay, so that is what this whole loop of Henle. And the reason why it goes into the medulla is because this area can absorb very nicely. Okay, so it absorbs very nicely, or you can put into this area so that the veins and that can grab everything that it needs, or veins, arteries and whatever. Okay, so hopefully you're understanding exactly what's going on. right? So let's just go on. I just want to get to all the pieces again, right? The next part is one of our questions. What is the next convoluted tubule, right? This is the distal convoluted tubule. It's at a distance. It's far away, okay? So you get the proximal, which is close. You get the distal, which is far. Convoluted tubules, okay? This part is where the last bit of water gets absorbed. And here we're going to start mentioning ADH, right? Right? And this is the exact way where we start doing it. Now, if you have a look at it, it's not that big. It's just a little loop. Now, remember, when I did the thing in the beginning, I did this. If I draw it here again, you got the Bowman's capsule. As soon as I get some color, right, there it is. You get the Bowman's capsule. I'm drawing it funny. Now we're getting this little squiggly line, which is the proximal convoluted tubule. Then you get the loop of Henle. Then you go up, you get the... There we go, the distal convoluted tubule, and then you get the collecting ducts. That's all it is. Very simple, nice drawing. Now, this piece here is just this area over here. This is where the last little bit of absorption takes place, right? Last bit of absorption, okay? So all it is, it's absorption, it's reabsorbing into the blood, right? And we normally use the ADH hormone, okay? Now, you must remember, the first piece, we're trying to get all that water away. Here, we're trying to take the last little bit of water that we need. Okay, now, the reason why I'm not hanging on with these hormones is I'm going to explain them just now in more detail, right? So, if I had a look at it, if I had a look at the next one, okay, we're getting the collecting ducts, right? Now, these collecting ducts, what it does is the Malpighian body comes along, goes into the Bowman's capsule. All the stuff gets taken out, everything we need, everything we don't need gets left in that tube, and the collecting duct is right at the end, right? Now, this nephron is joined with a collecting duct to another nephron, which is a collecting duct, and another nephron, and there's lots of them. Remember, that kidney is nice and big, right? And if it's nice and big, we're going to have a lot, hundreds, thousands of nephrons in there, and each nephron is going to join it to each other by a collecting duct. And at the end, you're going to have this thing pushing out one main pipe all the way to the bladder. Okay, so let's have a look at it. There it is. So all it is, it's just a normal pipe. Okay, it goes from here and it goes in that direction. Okay, if you have a look at osmoregulation, goes across all the way down, and the collecting ducts grab all the last little bit of stuff, and then we put it in the bladder. And all the collecting ducts come together. It's the best way to put it. Okay, the only thing that you've got to remember is, do not stress about these whole parts, right? They're very, very easy. They really are. I'll go over it in a few seconds again. The function of the kidney. Okay, as I said, main points of the kidney is for excretion. First and foremost, it's excretion. Okay, we need to get rid of, because it becomes poisonous to us, we need to get rid of things like your drugs. There's a big one for all you guys that are taking illegal substances, not good. Right? You get your drugs, right? You get your uric acid, okay? Uric acid is bad for us. Remember, you get your urea, you get your hepatic, you know what? I've lost it today, right? You get your hippuric acid, right? You get your creatine, and you get your ammonia. All of these things. Now, if you don't know what ammonia is, right, normally you can smell it in a bathroom. Or you get your ammonic acid that people put on outside or whatever. You can smell it. It's very strong. It takes your whole breath away. It's very bad for us, right? Okay? Very good for plants at little bit amounts, right? As long as they can be changed, right, with bacteria. Then that is the main function of the kidney, is to clean up the body. Right, to clean all those veins and arteries and that out. All the blood, we need the blood to be clean and spotless for our body. Remember, we're well-oiled machines. If we're a well-oiled machine, we run nicely. The minute we're not oiled well, there's a problem. As soon as there's dirt in the oil, there's a problem. This is our oil. Our blood is our oil. It goes all over the place, right? Next thing it does, it regulates water. Now, if you regulate water, can you remember, how do we regulate water? Where do we do the absorption of water? Can you remember? If you look at it in the kidney, it's that piece in the medulla area. It's your loop of Henle. We're going to absorb all the water. Now, what happens if I have a look at what happens on a hot day, can you tell me? A hot day, there's a specific thing that happens. On a cold day, there's a specific thing that happens. Okay? Now, the body's got to control that thing. Now, the reason I haven't told you is I'm going to explain in a few seconds, but each thing is different, right? We use water in both ways. In both ways. It's very important. They regulate how much water must be kept in the body or how much must be released in the body. Okay? The next thing, it maintains osmotic pressure with your salts, your excretion of salts, your regulated ions and that. Now, our ions in our bodies, right? We've got your mineral salts and your stuff. It osmoregulates everything. It makes everything into a balance. Now, if you have a look at here, the pH as well, it balances your pH, right? You have a look at your hydrogen ions and all of that. It's got to, the acids in your body. It's got to regulate. It must be able to take stuff out. And if there's not enough of it, it needs to keep some back. Okay? So that is what the kidney does. Kidney is a little filtration system, right? If it needs to get rid of it, well, I'll get rid of it. If it's not, please come in. We need it, right? That is what this kidney does. Okay? So kidneys are very, very, very important for your body, right? And if your kidney is not working properly, you can die. Well, let me get this right. If both your kidneys are not working properly and you cannot get a replacement kidney, right, they're going to start sending you to go get your blood cleaned, right? But that only works for a certain amount of time, and then something bad does happen. I'm sorry, that's the way it works. But we can keep this going. We can make sure that our body's looked after by looking after what we take in our bodies, right? So the next one, if I have a look at it, we can come through. There we go. Homeostasis. You all know what homeostasis means, okay? Homeostasis means equal balance. Equal balance. Always equal balance. Okay, so let's have it. Water balance in our body is converted by, there we go. Now we're going to start getting to my big part. This is where we need all those hormones, right? So let's have a look at it. Okay, hypothalamus. We all know where the hypothalamus is, right? Kat, can you remember where your hypothalamus is?
In the brain?
Ah, very nice. In the brain. It's exactly where we find it. The hypothalamus actually controls the amount of water in your body, right? Your hypothalamus. That's quite strange. Now, your hypothalamus, which is found in your brain, as I've just said there, controls it, okay? Your electrolytes, there we go. Let me get a pen again. Your electrolytes are vitally important for your body, right? Your electrolytes maintain the osmotic pressure. So in other words, where the water must go, how it must go, why it must go there. Okay? So that's what your electrolytes does. Now, that is why when you're doing sport and you keep drinking water, you can actually dehydrate yourself. You've got to put electrolytes back. Remember, you're perspiring and you're getting rid of urine. And in that urine is some mineral salts and all of that. So we're getting rid of all the salt and we're actually losing the good stuff. Right? So if you just keep drinking water, we're going to keep pushing all the good stuff out, and then you start getting cramps, and you start feeling not so nice. And do you understand what I'm trying to say? You've got to make sure you take your electrolytes in. Very important for a sports person, right? Now, this is the whole point. There we go. Let's go. We're having a look at animals that are homeothermic. Homeothermic, which means warm-blooded. Now, warm-blooded animals, right? They need a constant temperature on the inside, okay? But you must also remember that when they're doing exercises, they're also creating a lot of warmth in it. As these cells are going through the metabolic rate, they produce heat, they produce energy, and as that energy is coming, we need to get rid of this heat, right? That's why when they say you're very cold, you should go for a run. It'll warm you up. You warm yourself from the inside up to the outside. Right, so keep yourself warm when you're cold. Keep doing some exercise. That is what we need to do. We are humans. We're trying to do this, right? Homeothermic. They will ask you a lot about that. Now, what I want you to get to, if it'll come there, functions, right? ADH. ADH, remember I did that, antidiuretic hormone. Now, your antidiuretic hormone helps with the absorption of water, okay? Now, if I have a look at it, okay, it makes it more concentrated. If something is more concentrated, we need to get ADH in. So what actually happens is, it is a very, very hot day. Hot day. Okay, so it's a typical summer in South Africa, right? And we've got some sports going. Okay, sports time, and we're going to go do a couple of hundreds, couple of 200s. And what are we doing? We perspiring, great? We're keeping the heat off us. We're getting rid of heat. So what happens in the kidney is we get into that loop of Henle part and the distal convoluted tubules, and we actually need to try and save water, because that water is not just going to go to the bladder, it actually goes to the skin to create perspiration so that we can cool our bodies off, right? So that water goes onto our skin, we get rid of it. Now, if we didn't have ADH, we wouldn't be able to do this, okay? ADH makes the parts that are sucking the water up. I'm trying to make it in as easiest terms as possible, right? If I could imagine this pipe that's sucking the water up looks like a piece of material. So the material on my stomach here or wherever, it's a piece of material, right? And ADH is not present. The minute ADH comes, this changes to a net, a nice big hold net, okay? So it's opening up all the grooves so that the water can flow faster. Now, if I took a big net with big holes in it and I took it through the water, it moves very slowly and very fast. But if I took my shirt, it would pull the water back. It would be a little bit more difficult. So that's what ADH does. It actually increases the permeability, while it decreases the permeability of this thing. It makes it actually suck up water a lot more. Okay, so as it says there, the ADH is released, right? It comes from the pituitary gland, right? It gets released, okay? It works on the wall of the collecting ducts, making them permeable to water. In other words, the water can be absorbed a lot more. More water can be absorbed. It's better for us. Okay, that happens on a very hot day. Okay, now, what happens on a very cold day? Okay, we do not secrete ADH. Okay, we do not secrete ADH, therefore, we're not going to absorb all that water. So think about it. On a hot day, how many times, or should I say, how much do you actually drink? Kat, how much do you drink on a hot day?
I should drink more.
But you normally drink quite a bit.
Yeah.
Because you're thirsty more often.
Yeah.
Right? And then, next question, how often do you go to the toilet?
A lot more as well, because you're drinking a lot more, right? No, you don't, because more water is used up in your body.
Very nice. So if you have a look at it, you drink a lot in summer when it's hot. You drink a hell of a lot of water, right? But you go to the toilet a lot less. Now think about it. The other day it was snowing in this country.
Yes.
Which is amazing. It was snowing. So what actually happened, how many times did you go to the toilet? Even though you don't drink as much.
A lot.
You drink a lot. I mean, you go to the toilet a lot. Very nice, Kat. Now, we go to the toilet a lot because all that urine is just getting pushed back into the bladder, because all the water is getting pushed into the bladder, right? And we don't know how to get rid of it. So we got to wear it out. We don't need it. We're nice and cold. We don't need the water on our skins, right? So that is what ADH does, right? And the next one is aldosterone does the sodium ions. It takes sodium, as I said to you, from inside the convoluted tubules, inside the loop of Henle to outside, so that more water can move across in the osmoregulation, right? So if I have a look at it, okay, the distal convoluted tubules, collecting ducts, actively reabsorb the sodium. So what actually happens is we get the sodium get pushed out so that the water can be absorbed, and then it gets sucked back into the tubes later on. Right, so hopefully I have gone and try to help you as much as possible, okay? Please don't stress about this. This is actually a very nice section. Read over it again. You will be fine, okay? But until next time, enjoy your holidays, by the way. Hope you have a lovely one. I'm sure I will. I've got a lot of marking to do, but enjoy the rest of your holidays, guys. Kat.
How are you, Llewellyn? That was a good show, hey?
It was fun.
It was really good, and I can see your guys' comments and all the stuff that you had to ask. Some of you joined a bit late, so you missed the beginning bit of the section. Don't worry. Just scroll up on your Facebook screens. Look at all the answers. Look at all the comments people made. Look at all that, and you'll see that you are actually so covered, because all the questions have actually been answered. So make sure for yourself that you actually just recap, maybe read some of your textbook, ask people for some notes on Facebook. I'm sure everyone is very happy to help you because it's at a stage right now where we've become such good friends that some of us can just be like, hey, Debocho, how are you today? And that's very nice to see from my perspective. So guys, thank you for the awesome show. I hope you join us again next week for some more life science. And up next is the grade 12s, guys. So from me, bye-bye.